Welcome to the show. Today we discuss nature versus nurture. Let's talk about that. All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're excited to have some great content for you today. Great content. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Let's Talk About That, the podcast where we dare to define a good dad joke. And some spiritual stuff.
Here
and there. A little bit. Okay. I'm your host, Daniel Scott, and joining me today is Pastor Scott Whitley, as always, and forever and ever. All right. Today it is time for everybody's favorite segment, the joke of the week.
You know, somebody said we had too much fun. I don't think there's any such thing as too such fun. Too much fun. Too much. Fun. There's
no such thing as too much fun.
You know, we do everything with all that is within us.
That is absolutely correct.
If we're going to have fun, then let's do it with all that is within us.
That is my life's motto. If I'm going to slack off, I'm going to slack off with everything that is within me.
That's right. Hey,
I think.
Why don't pizzas tell jokes?
Why is this?
Because they're too cheesy.
Yeah.
See, I just threw that in there. I did learn today that there is at least one instrument in every bathroom. A tuba toothpaste.
Wow.
A tuba toothpaste.
That's awesome. I love it.
You know, these podcasts are released on, the episodes are released on Thursdays.
Most of the time.
And that's garbage day.
Right.
But we record on Wednesday most of the time.
Right.
But on Thursday, it's garbage day. So I was really thinking about this afternoon, and I was like, hey, let me do some digging into this, you know. Do you know that trash collectors require no training?
Is this true?
They just pick it up as they go.
I love that one.
So that was the jokes of the day.
The jokes of the week, everybody.
Jokes of the week.
Jokes of the week.
Yep.
I love it. And so is everybody else.
I'm concerned that they are more interested in the jokes. It's funny, though.
Oh.
You know, I've memorized a lot of scripture. I don't think I've ever forgotten a joke, though.
Oh. See, I have the opposite problem. I can't remember anything for the life of me.
I thought you were going to say you memorized more scripture than jokes.
No, but I just can't remember anything at all.
Oh, my goodness.
I hear these amazing jokes, and I'm like, I have to save them. And then I can go back and actually listen to them and be like, okay, yeah, I remember what the joke is going to be.
A good friend of mine got me it's the little book of one-liners.
Yes.
It literally, on my nightstand, it sits there. It just sits there on my stand, like where my phone charges or whatever.
I love it.
It's there. It's the little book of one-liners.
That's amazing. I will go ahead and throw one out there because I don't know about you, but I am getting offered countless dad jokes to bring to these.
It's awesome.
So I'll go ahead and share one. My wife gave me this one, so shout out to her on this one. What is a snowman's favorite Mexican food?
No idea.
Burrito.
Oh. That's a good one.
That one deserved it.
That was a good one.
Oh, that was the wrong one. I meant crickets.
What that was.
Chimes. Okay. For all seriousness. So today's podcast episode should go really well with what you preach Sunday, in my opinion. So the topic of nature versus nurture. Let's go ahead and dive into this. What is nature versus nurture? Or what is, I guess, the concept behind nature versus nurture?
Yeah. I'm glad you remembered what I preached Sunday.
You don't?
You know, it. Anywho, nature versus
I'm here for you.
nurture. The idea of nature versus nurture, it was really conceptualized hundreds, if not thousands of years ago.
Right.
I believe it was the ancient Greeks. They would wonder and even debate, in their way about what causes personality, what causes
good.
angry people to be angry,
Yeah.
what causes the class clown to be the class clown.
Yeah. I think the answer to the angry one is lack of Snickers, but
Yeah. So they would sit around and just wonder and debate about what causes individual personalities. It goes deeper than these descriptions that I'm going to give, but again, these are just theorized descriptions. I think there's so much more that we could talk about or go into depth about the descriptions of these. So I'll just give a basic synopsis. Nature is the way we are wired.
yeah.
It's who we are because of our genetic inheritance. I look a certain. I'm a combination of my biological mother and father in appearance, height, physique,
Right.
for good or bad.
You have your mother's hips.
and other factors, whether it's chemical or biological. And then nurture is really what we become, or it's defined as what we become because of external circumstances on our life. It's not genetics, but it's surroundings, it's environment, or that's the way it's been defined. That could be home environment, could be education, could be interactions with other cultures, with other peoples, with other nationalities. Our education, our experiences as an individual, it's really how our environment affects us on a personal level. So really, that's just the basic definition or basic description. Really, I wouldn't even call it a definition of nature and nurture.
Right. And this kind of topic, I mean, it goes forever and for always. I mean, there's so many topics, conversations, videos, blogs, podcast even.
And I always feel underqualified to talk about all of them. I don't know if that's nature or nurture, but
Don't we all? That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's just basic descriptions there.
Great. So what does nature versus nurture mean for the life of a Christian?
I thought that was really interesting and really challenging at the same time to really define those things and look at how there is and can be both nature and nurture in the life of a Christian.
Absolutely.
I'd say that basically it means the same thing as in the natural world, but we have to apply it obviously to the spiritual. There are things that influence us in Christianity and can nurture us to have certain predispositions or ideals about life in general as a Christian. The same can be said of nature in a Christian's life. There are many things that are nature in us before Christ. If my biological parents, if they were both prone to heart disease, biologically speaking, I think this speaks to the nature side.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to face those things too, unless I can curb that with diet and exercise or whatever it might be. There are things that are nature in us before Christ, just like there are things that are nature in us in the natural. Heart disease, strong heart, weak heart, tall, short. Now, obviously, I didn't get much in the way of the tall category, but there are also nature characteristics that are in us whenever we are born again. So we are born again with a new nature, and I'll stand on my soapbox for just a second because nature, I didn't get to stand on my soapbox. Romans 12:12 says,
"Is that so you can see eye to eye?"
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
I look up to nearly everybody I'm around. Romans 12:2 And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So this is really one of my big pet peeves, maybe.
Gotcha.
The concept of being conformed or transformed, I feel like it needs to be more thoroughly examined, needs to be more thoroughly explored in the life of every Christian.
Yeah.
It's something that I constantly go back to in my life. Are we really transformed, or have we just learned how to conform to fit in?
Wow.
Even though I feel like I'm a Christian,
Excellent.
I'm doing my best to follow Christ. I'm a born-again believer. Go wherever you want to go with that. But have I learned how to fit in with other apostolic people? Have I learned how to fit in with other Christians? Have I learned how to talk the talk and walk the walk? Or am I walking the walk and talking the talk because I've really been transformed? Right. So that's the thing in me. Biblically, we should not conform to this world, but we should be transformed. There's a literal, I think we talked about it a few weeks ago on a midweek, and then you preached about it a little while back, a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago too. Yeah. There's got to be that transformation in us, and that transformation, I can't even remember what the word is now. We talked about, but it's literally the caterpillar and the butterfly.
Yes.
What is that? Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis.
Whoa, it slipped me. Those gray hairs are there for a reason. So there is that transformation. It literally becomes a new creature.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
when we are born again, we are not just conformed. We're not just carrying the image of. And I've often talked about the difference in a costume and a uniform. Yeah. Today's the 30th, tomorrow's the 31st. There's going to be a lot of people out there that put on costumes. Yeah. There'll be a lot of people out there that maybe there's a kid that decides to play a doctor tomorrow night. Or I'll speak from my heart. Maybe he puts on a maintenance man's costume.
I love it.
And he goes out and he pretends to be a maintenance man. Now that's a lot different. He may have tools that look like, and even a costume that looks like the maintenance man, but he's not putting on a uniform. He's putting on a costume. Right. And if we're not careful as Christians, we put on a costume instead of a uniform. Instead of actually being what we are representing, we're just wearing a costume a few days out of the year instead of putting on an actual uniform and saying, "Hey, I'm a real maintenance man." Wow. I'm not a pretend maintenance man.
The picture comes to my mind, and you out there listening to this, visualize this with me: a caterpillar with a fake set of wings flapping around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make him a butterfly?
No way.
That does not make. He may even slightly resemble a butterfly, but is he a true butterfly? No. Without going through the metamorphosis process, he is not truly a butterfly.
Sure.
Same can be said of a Christian, that if we can look the part, right? We can put on the costume. We can look the most holy down to the T. We can have the longest dresses. We can have the best suits with our hair slicked over the right way.
Yeah. Very hypocrite. What are they called? Hypocrites.
Yeah.
It's not the word.
Oh.
They're just so close, I can't think of the other word.
Imposters.
Pharisees.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. But we can look the part. We can act the part. We can even worship the part sometimes, okay? Yeah. And that's kind of the scary part, is when we become so good at pretending to be a Christian. Yeah. We've become so good at pretending to play the parts and to lift our hands at the right time, to run the aisles at the right time, to sing the right notes, to play the right instrument, whatever. Or even to get behind a pulpit and we know what it is that motivates the crowd. We know what it is that gets the saints to clapping.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a scary thought, and we live there. We live there in today's society, which is scary.
The dangerous thing is, if all you care about is the applause of the people, they're never going to be able to hear what you say as long as they're clapping.
Wow.
It's hard for them to hear what you're actually saying. Now, I'm not saying that...
That's good.
I'm not saying we shouldn't respond, But if that's all we're looking for, then I think we've missed the point.
Yeah. No pun intended, but
We should be transformed. We become a
Yes.
brand new creature.
creature.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
A new creation.
We become a new creation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Creature.
I love it.
Creature. I think we have to stop using our sex, whether male or female.
Yeah.
We have to stop using that as an out when we don't want to be disciplined in our life.
Wow.
We
That's
say,
good.
well, I'm a man. That's just how I am. No, that's lazy.
That a
We
preacher
get into
right
this
there.
rote of thinking that everything is nature. Well, it's just the way that I am. No,
I sin because it's just the way I am. I can't help it.
lack of discipline is not nature. That's definitely nurture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lack of discipline, and to the men that are listening,
You guys out
you
there.
give all of us a bad name when you won't control your fleshly appetite, and then once you've done that thing, whatever it is, you say, "Well, I'm just a man. It's just the way that I'm wired."
Right.
That's not nature. We have to man up and take responsibility
Absolutely.
for our actions.
Absolutely.
So, what was the question? See, I've done got way off topic. What does nature versus nurture mean in the life of a Christian?
Actually, I want to add to that right before we go to that, because what does the Bible say that defines a man?
I would that men pray everywhere
Lifting up holy hands.
without wrath and doubting.
How anti-cultural, I guess is the word, how anti-cultural is that for a man? Because men are supposed to be rough and tough and mighty and strong. We're not supposed to lift up hands and be weak.
Yeah.
Because really, I lift my hands up. I surrender. Don't shoot me. Don't attack me.
I can carry the sword, but I can't pray.
Yeah. I mean, how anti-cultural is that statement in the Bible? I think that's there for that specific reason, because it's so against what the world says a man should be.
Absolutely.
That it separates holy men from the men of the world in such a strong and powerful way that if we can just grasp that concept and apply that to our life and say,
Yeah.
I am a holy man of God.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not going to be wrathful. I'm not going to be vengeful. I'm not going to be angry. I'm going to love.
Yeah.
I'm going to embrace love and kindness and win people with love and kindness.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry.
No, that's good.
That went way off track there, but yeah, nature versus nurture in the life of a Christian is,
You're the host. You lay the track. We just ride the track behind you.
let's go. But yeah, the nature versus nurture as a Christian, are we born to be talented to stand behind that pulpit and preach the mightiest messages? Or does that come from the nurture of hours and hours and countless hours of praying and fasting and seeking the face of God?
Yeah.
Face of God, not faced of God.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Sorry.
I mean, I did create a new word earlier, so
That's fair.
We're good.
We'll take it.
The bad thing is I don't think it's the first time I created it.
Maybe not. Okay. Do you got anything else to add to that topic before we go to the next one?
I think that was all I had to say.
Gotcha. So how does our culture influence our natural life and our spiritual life for the better and for the worse?
The obvious is that we have to walk in and out of our current culture,
right,
and our natural life. If you work a public job, if you're around people outside the church, you're constantly surrounded by world culture, whether you want to be or not.
Yeah.
I mean, you walk through Walmart and you're walking through the culture of the world.
Right. Absolutely.
That's just the way it is. And not all of this is a bad thing. It gives us a great opportunity to witness. It gives us a great opportunity to let our light shine in the world. But then it's bad because we really can't control it. And it often has more influence on us than we do on it if we're not actively working to change that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to be, who was it? Maybe Peter? Yeah. We must be sober and vigilant, watching and praying. We have to be actively aware of what's going on around us, or we can be influenced so subtly that we don't even realize that we're being influenced.
Absolutely. And that's the dangerous part.
Since we walk in our world, in our natural flesh, I mean, I don't think anybody floats around out there, it's always going to have an influence on us.
Yeah.
The biggest task is just making sure that the world is not having more influence on us than God is having on us.
Right.
Is the world influencing us as we walk in the world, or are we influencing the world? I mean, we've been giving that change agent to walk into the world and to make a difference, or not even make a difference, but be a difference.
Yes. You've said that, God, I can't even count how many times lately, that the disciples literally turned the world on its head.
Yeah.
And if we are to be like those great men of God,
yeah,
then should we be so conformed to the ways of this world that, we don't rock the boat? We don't disturb the flow of everything else around us, or do we turn the world on its head? Do we flip the script and say, you know what? I'm going to live for God. I'm going to live for Jesus no matter what.
I have no problems with using social media as a platform for, I'm sorry, that didn't come out right. We shouldn't make platforms for ourselves.
Right.
I don't have any problem using social media platforms for
there we go.
the propagation of the gospel.
Yes.
None at all. I think it's great. I think we should utilize every opportunity we get. But we cannot get so focused on becoming a social media personality.
Yeah.
Christian, whatever.
Yeah.
Influencer. Influencer. Thank you. That we forget that we have a world that's actually around us that we can actually touch. They said we've touched him. He's touched us.
Wow.
We were eyewitnesses of his majesty. There has to be influence on a personal level, on a local level, instead of trying to. There's got to be a balance.
Yeah.
We can't try to reach the entire world on social media and let the city around us be lost because we have spent all of our energy, effort, time, money, whatever else. We spent all that on the social media platform to become an influencer or whatever, but we haven't influenced our local community.
Yeah.
So I think there definitely has to be a balance, making sure that the world's not having more influence on us than God does. We live in the world. We walk in the world. So I think a question that I often ask myself is, can I live in Egypt and still be called a child of God?
Wow. Yes. That's the nail on the head. That's good.
400 and whatever years they lived in Egypt, but they were still children of Israel. They were still God's people.
Yeah.
I realized they lived in a suburb or just technically outside of Egypt. But so they could live in close proximity. And I know that there were some cultural clashes. Ooh, we got to quit using these big words. There were some clashes there with the culture, and I know some strangers came out of Egypt with them and caused them to, it polluted their right doctrine with God, and there was some issues there that arose. But their lives, they lived so close to Egypt, yet they were still called God's people.
Yeah.
They were still his people.
Absolutely.
So can we live in Egypt and still be called a child of God? We walk in Egypt every single day. If you work a public job, you walk through Egypt every single day.
Not even just that, like you said a while ago, when you go to the grocery store.
Yeah. Can I march around the walls of Jericho until the walls fall? Yeah, probably so. But can I resist the things that are inside the city that I'm not supposed to touch when the walls come down?
Right.
See, everybody says, "Well, I need these walls to come down." Do you really want those walls to come down? Because when the walls come down, that's when the real battle is going to begin.
Yeah.
That real battle is God said, "Don't touch those things." And now with the walls up, I don't have to worry about touching those things.
Yeah.
But when the walls come down, I'm going to have to deal with myself. Now I don't have to worry about it because there's walls separating me and the thing that God says, don't take it back to your tent. Well, the walls come down. Now it's the real battle. Now the battle is who's watching and what can I get away with? What can I get back to my tent before somebody realizes that I've taken it? What's always amazed me is that Achan, he took a Babylonian garment. I mean, really, where's he going to wear it? I mean,
what you got?
Yeah, I really like that. Really like
Where'd you get them threads at, bro?
Yeah, we're nice
That
suit.
Temu?
Wow, is that a Babylonian garment you're wearing? Where'd you get that? He didn't run over to the next camp and pick it up. He obviously got it when he went into Jericho.
Right.
So the walls weren't the real obstacle. They had no problems with the wall. They came tumbling down, but the real battle was inside, not touching the things that God said to leave alone. So
right.
We have to learn how to walk in the world, but not be influenced by the world.
Absolutely.
And the world culture.
Yeah. So the nature versus nurture, we got to make sure, even if we're talented, I know you preached pretty hard about this Sunday, those people who are talented and how much you absolutely adore those type of people.
Yeah.
If you wasn't here for that, that's not what he said. But the people who are just so naturally talented, spiritually, that is, I mean, physically, but you can't ride that coattail to heaven.
No way.
You've got to make sure that you nurture the Spirit of God and the relationship with God in your life. You can't just rely on your amazing vocals, or your preaching skills, or your teaching skills, or your musical skills.
Yeah,
we are all over the place
Big
today
words,
with these
I'm telling
words. Brain hurt, can't think. But we got to make sure we're nurturing that walk with God,
absolutely,
and not just fully relying on the gifts and the nature that we were born with.
Yeah,
being, those people who do struggle with things, they understand and appreciate that talent more, in my opinion, than those people who are just born with that gift. Yeah. Can you just sit down behind a piano and go to town playing Beethoven and all these amazing things, and you're just like, all right, I'm bored. What else you got? Or are you one of those people that you spent years and years and years honing that skill, and then you can still barely play a couple of chords? You appreciate that skill a little bit more.
Absolutely.
When the nurture goes in behind it.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways, next question. I'll get off my soapbox now. So are we predestined for failure depending on the things like where we're born or where we're raised?
No. How big of a no can you write?
Big no. Massive no.
I really love that question, though, because a lot of people use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Just like we say, or we don't. Some people, I've heard people say, I'm a man,
Yes.
That's why I do this, because I'm a man.
Yeah. Or I can't do this
because
I'm a man. I can't cry because I'm a man.
Right.
But yeah, it's those excuses that are. I wasn't raised in church. Mm. I wasn't born in the Pentecostal movement, apostolic movement.
I love it when people say, I wasn't raised in church. I'm like, neither were the disciples.
Right?
They totally changed religions. They went from Judaism to Christianity.
Yes.
I mean,
pretty big difference.
These be they that turn the world upside down. I wasn't raised in the church.
Exactly.
I love the question, and it's a great big no, because if we are predestined for failure, depending on the things like where we're born and how we're raised, then I'm on the road to failure.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I meet all the criteria for what social science
yes
say forms a failure. Adopted, broken family, blah blah blah. You name it.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. But all that was BC. All that was before Christ.
Right.
And there can be. I will say this: are we predestined for failure? Depending on all of those circumstances, no. I will throw this disclaimer in. There can be a lot of roadblocks, and even hurdles that we have to overcome if you come out of those situations. But they're not the determining factor. But the same can be said of those that have been in the church their whole life. Being in the church also could be their roadblock, because I've been in it so long, I'm used to it.
Yes.
it's coming back. Sunday morning's coming back. I'm I hate to use it like this, but the New Testament talks a lot about being sober. We're so drunk on this
Right.
conformity.
Yes.
I've conformed to it for so long I can go through the motions and nobody will even know I'm just going through the motions. And there has to be a sobering moment in my life that says, you're in a rut. You're in the rote. You're just the same thing over and over and over. Too often, these roadblocks and these hurdles, they become excuses instead of opportunities for us to grow.
Right.
Okay. So here's the deal. You can run track. You can run the 200-meter relay, and you can do it without missing a step. If you really want to grow, throw some hurdles in there.
Right.
Now you've got to figure out how to run that 200-meter relay and jump some hurdles along the way. So you're adding a level of difficulty. You're going up a level.
Yes.
So the more responsibility that we want to take on, or the more we want God to use us, the more disciplined we have to become. And if we want to become more disciplined, and if we want to grow and become what He wants us to be, then the way that we grow is by having those things that we cannot, or we feel like we cannot overcome. And as we grow and as we develop, we figure out how to get over the hurdles.
Yes.
Like
massively.
I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago about something I was working on, and I said, I've never done this before. And he said, good. I said, I'm kind of concerned because I've done a lot of things. I said, but I've never experienced this. I don't have experience with this. He said, good. He said, that gives you a great opportunity to grow.
Yes.
He said, you're about to learn something you've never learned before, and you're up against something you've never been up against. And I just got done with the project, and was it difficult? Absolutely. Will I do it different next time? Absolutely, because I learned a lot.
Exactly.
I learned what didn't work, but I also learned some things that did work, and some things that would make it a whole lot faster. So I think it's paramount that we don't let these roadblocks or these hurdles become excuses. I stopped looking for excuses to quit a long time ago, because if you're looking for an excuse to quit, don't worry. Every day there's going to be an excuse to quit.
Absolutely.
I stopped looking for excuses and I started looking for reasons. Yeah. Reasons to keep going.
That's great.
Reasons to keep on, and sometimes at the end of the day, I look around and I say, I've got 3 boys and a wife, and they're depending on me. They're looking at me, and like Brother Stan Gleason said, I can't even remember, A Few Good Men is his newest book. For dads, for men, really, A Few Good Men. I think about it, and I don't care. I said I wasn't going to say that anymore. It doesn't matter to me if nobody ever remembers my name, right? As long as my wife and my 3 boys, as long as they remember my name, as long as I can be famous in my family, that's all. That's great. That's all I really. That's number one to me.
That's beautiful.
Is if I can be famous in my family. So stop looking for excuses and look for reasons.
Absolutely. Because just to echo that same thing, it can become so easy when you're born with that talent or born with whatever.
Absolutely.
That you don't try. Just like that you were talking about with the job that you was doing. When you're not used to it, you're going to be so much more careful.
Yep.
You're going to make sure every little detail is spotless and perfect, because you want to make sure it's right. Even if you know how to do it or don't know how to do it, you want to make sure it's right. But
absolutely,
if you're that pro that's done it a million times, you just go in there, you slap it all together.
Don't even think about it.
Done. And it falls apart 5 days later.
Yeah.
But it spiritually, we can become that same way. We've become so accustomed to it. We've grown up in church. We've said all the prayers. We've sung all the songs. We just become so accustomed to it that I can go to the prayer room. I can worship. I can dance. I can shout, and I can do it all and look the perfect spot. I can do it. but is it really coming from your heart? Is it really coming from the nurture that you've put into it? You know, are you
if it's really going to be a sacrifice of praise, it has to be thought about.
Yes.
I mean, you don't
Absolutely.
haphazardly offer sacrifice. You don't accidentally offer sacrifice.
Right.
It's intentional. So if it's going to be a real sacrifice, we will think about it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And just to go back to this, I guess the question before this, it doesn't matter where you come from, or this question, sorry. It doesn't matter where you've come from in your life. It doesn't matter what you've went through, because God can and will use you.
Yeah.
As long as you allow him to, and you love him enough to say, you know what, God, I don't want to just throw this away. I don't want to throw this opportunity away. I want to truly, truly love you.
Yeah, that's good.
It makes such a massive difference in your life. Because again, it doesn't matter where you come from.
Absolutely.
You know, you could come from a line of Pentecost that, you know, your entire family for 10 generations has been in this.
And you can be a loser.
And, yeah, absolutely. And you can just throw it all away for one moment of pleasure.
Sure.
But then you can be those people that, you know, that you're first generation. You know, you've never been inside a church your entire life, or at least a Pentecostal church, and you've never been a part of worship and prayer and all these things that, you know, it's all new to you. Yeah. But it's in those cases that you seem to worship the most, that you seem to have the most sincere prayer life. Mm-hmm. And that's just something that can't be thrown away.
She loves so much because she's been forgiven so much.
Yes, absolutely. When was it that you said that? Last Wednesday night, maybe? That it's the people that get in church for like the first 2 years of their life.
Yeah, I think the statistic was like the first 2 years that after the conversion, we'll do more for God in those first 2 years after conversion than we will for the rest of our life. Yeah. No matter how long we live, no matter how long we've been in church, unless we are actively conscious of that, saying I'm not just going to relax and sit back on a seat, but I'm going to. Well, basically, he gave us a 2-letter word: go. Yeah. You know, so how often can you sit down and go?
Just do it.
You know, I think that's sometimes our motto: sit down and go, or go and sit down.
There you go.
Go for a few months and then just sit down the rest of your life.
That one did it. Yeah. Yeah. Because, all right, I'm going to wrap this up. As always, I want to ask you, is there any good books or materials that you could recommend?
You know,
doesn't have to be specifically on this topic, but something good that you could recommend.
I wrote a few down or took note of a few. Find, number one, I would say for everybody, find a good Bible. Yeah. And everybody always says, well, what's a good Bible? And which Bible is best? Well, the one you're going to read.
The one you're going to read.
You know, how is it laid out? Do I want center column references? What font do I want? Do I want a study Bible? Do I want a reading Bible? My reading Bible, which is this one, which is also the Bible I take with me to the pulpit. If my iPad crashes, I've also got my phone, which everything is backed up because I've been there enough times. If they both crash, I can go to the Scripture. I can open the book to wherever I'm going, and there it's ready. It's ready to go. It's laid out. It's single column. It's not It's not double column. It's single column. If I'm going to read at home just to read, now if I'm going to study, I'll grab a study Bible and some other things. But if I'm just going to read, I use this one because it's the easiest to read. So I would say number one is find a good Bible. If you don't get through the Bible in a year, it's very easy to do, actually, to get through it in a year. But if even if you don't get through it in a year, you know, take time every day to really read and to study for understanding. Next, I would say if you want to be a disciple maker, and it's always at the top of my list, is Stan Gleason, Follow to Lead, The Journey of a Disciple Maker. It's always at the top of my list, and I try to read that one at least once or twice a year, once every year, and hopefully twice. And if you can get it on audiobook, so if I read through it one time, I'll try to listen to it at least another time. If you, Basic Bible and Doctrinal Questions, Dr. David K. Bernard has anchor points, and it covers I can't even begin. I mean, there's so many topics that it covers. It's just a couple of pages on each topic, but it gives you scripture and reference, and you can just basic understanding. Public and private ministry, not written by apostolic people, but it's a really good book and helps in practical ways, the art and craft of biblical preaching. Really good to have in the arsenal. If you're looking for something to build your faith, read Charles G. Robinette, Radically Apostolic. No, I don't have any. I have no words. I just finished it. I've had it forever, and I feel terrible because I just now completed it. I would say, as far as book reading, challenge yourself. My goal for 24 was to read. What, are we in 24? Yeah, 24. Yeah. My goal for 24 was to read 75 books.
Wow.
This year.
Where are you?
82.
What?
Some of those books I read at least once every year. Now, these are not novels. A lot of these are books. The majority of these are spiritual books, but not all of them are spiritual. I enjoy a good adventure from my living room. Yeah. So challenge yourself. There's, people say, well, there's not a lot of difference in reading and watching. Well, the main difference is if you are watching, it's really just passive. If you are reading, you're learning new words. You're learning how to articulate words. You're learning how to put words in. And if you want to be a communicator, if you want to be an effective communicator, I suggest reading every chance you get. And you don't have to read 100 books a year.
Right.
That was just a goal that I had. Last year I read like 56, and I was like, well, I want to read 75 this year. That's awesome. It was just, I don't know that I'll up it from there just for time management. But, like, that'd
be impressive.
If you go on vacation or whatever, you've got a little bit of time, and
true.
Or if you can listen, you can listen. A lot of these that I've read, I've listened to as well.
That's me. I do a lot of driving, so I absolutely love listening to audiobooks and podcasts.
Yeah, and if I get an opportunity, what I really like to do is, especially during my study time, I'll read the Bible as I'm listening to it. So
I like that.
I have a.
There's a better comprehension there, really.
Yeah, and I know I'm sick. Pray for me. I like to be able to pronounce the words in the Bible. I challenge myself to pronounce. So listening to it helps. And I listen to it sometimes, and I'm like, even those audio guys, even those guys that are reading it, they have a hard time with some of those words too. So I'll go and look them up or whatever. But just a quirky thing. It's not really.
I go look up the definition, hit play like a million times. Like,
yeah.
Okay,
and then it's like, Google now has that thing where you can repeat it and it will test you on it to see how, like you look up a word, how do you pronounce this? And it says, whatever it is, and then, you can hit the microphone button and it lets you repeat it, and it'll tell you how, if you did good or bad, or if it needs some work, and it'll tell you where to inflect or whatever. So
it's going to be like, you must be from Tennessee because you get a 3.
That's right.
Out of 50.
That's right. Oh, that's great.
All right. Let me wrap this up then. I want to thank you and encourage you to share this podcast with somebody. I want to thank you for listening, being a part of our family. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you for listening, because otherwise we're just here talking to each other, which is still really good. All right. Let me get to my soundboard over here. All right. Thank you. Make sure you give us a like, give us a share, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the podcast. Again, don't hurt our feelings, but don't make us prideful either.
Keep us humble.
Give us some jokes in there. Test us. But we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for everything that you do and being a part of the kingdom of God. Goodbye.